and talk about our next speaker. Our next meeting will be May 30th, right here. And Mikey, is that his
Recording in progress.
Oh no. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're ready.
And let's say a few words about Mikey. Okay. Thank you for being here. Oh, if you haven't been to the hall before, the bathrooms are in the back. There's water up here. I don't know if there's wine.
Maybe a little more.
There's a glass for you and there's a bottle at the back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I meant to say about the hunger. Yeah.
As you can tell, we're having audio issues
Okay.
because of an arrangement we don't usually do here. So we're just trying to figure it out where we get the audio going into her computer. So,
I mean, worst case, so
And earlier.
Hello.
Ironing these technical issues out.
All right.
And
Let's bring this up.
Hey, here's a good thing.
Audio
Internet
settings.
in Pocono Canyon.
oh well.
Well, we have a story to tell
Hello.
about the internet in Pocono. Oh my goodness.
And test speaker.
We can hear you, Leslie.
All right.
okay.
Uh-oh.
So you hear us now?
We could hear you the whole time. You just couldn't hear me saying this.
This is actually reflecting off of.
If you check the chat, there is something there.
And John Williams will be here on there.
Okay.
All right, we live here in the
So go ahead and share screen now.
Okay.
Okay.
He's in Santa Fe, and he's our host.
In Mexico.
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
All right. So look here.
we're not sure.
Okay.
We're sharing. So
All right.
I think we got it. I'm going to cross as many fingers as I can. And now, why
Okay. Okay.
you can stop standing there.
Okay. Well, Leslie, I knew her late dad from MIT. I went to MIT a long time ago, and what a guy he was. He's a fantastic, was a fantastic researcher in life science. Did a lot of work on artificial gravity for space. I used to. MIT is a weird place to go to when you're a writer, because the one thing that I remember is they have what they call the Hall of Infinity. And you walk down this hall.
It's the infinite corridor.
No, I think it's the Hall of Infinity. No, Infinite Corridor. What is it?
Better still, they've made a walkway next to it outside the buildings.
Yeah.
They call it the Outfinite Corridor.
Okay, there we go. But what? MIT was just flourishing with a bunch of bright students that went on for a lot of space organizations and a lot of other things. They're very creative. But Leslie, right now, is a planetary scientist at the Southwest Research Institute here in Boulder, and also with Wild Wonder Foundation. An expert on small celestial bodies in the solar system, and also was a major element of the New Horizons flyby at Pluto. So with that, I want to say thank you for coming. Great to have you here. we had a lot of problems weather-wise last go around, but this time it's about as wacky as we could for sky watching.
Yeah.
So we wanted to invite you back for the wacky weather. Leslie.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I saw about 6 snowflakes driving south from Allen's Park. I named them all. So I don't think we're going to get on sky tonight, but we're going to have some fun. So Southwest Research Institute, the logo in the lower left. What the heck is this thing in the lower right? Wild wonder. This worked before.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
What?
Let's see. There we go. Okay. So so it's my astronomy work, which some of you know. Bob will recognize a lot of this. So who do I look at? Pluto, Triton, KBO friends like Eris and Makemake and upper atmospheres of giant planets or Titan. So that's really just kind of a nod back to Pluto because the thermosphere of Jupiter, there's a lot of similar physics to the entire atmosphere of Pluto. And one Earth paper. And what do I work on? Well, anything Pluto, atmospheric energy balance. I really like volatile ices. So ices that can move around, go into the atmosphere, come back. I get a kick out of walking behind my house and going, oh, that's a sublimation effect. Oh, you don't see that in Boston. And I was trained as an observer, so lots of optical and infrared. As you heard, I was heavily involved in the New Horizons spacecraft to Pluto. I was the head of the encounter planning, so doing the choreography of how to make the best use of our time and fuel and solid state recorder and submodeling. It gets me into trouble. But for the last 3 years, so about 3 years ago, I got a permission slip that said, Leslie, you can do absolutely anything that you need to do. And I am going to tell you, I am giving each one of you that permission slip today. So if that's the only thing you take out of this talk is to say, Leslie Young gave me permission to do absolutely anything that I want to do. So I became a nature journal instructor, and I'll tell you what nature journaling is in a little bit. I teach once a month down at the Lions Library. We had our kickoff last weekend. People said, oh, I've lived here 30 years. I don't know all the trees. So if you come next month, we're going to do cone sexing.
Tell them what that is.
I'll make you. I'm going to make them ask first. I'm going to make you ask. So Sweet Darkness, I lead an online nature journal class once a month about observing and making notes and questions about the night sky, and I just do it for my own self. I lead some stargazing up at Allen's Park. I write a column for The Wind. There are other people in this room who write columns. I'm going to talk a little bit about pop-up talks, which is a little bit of a pun, and been working with Estes Park is trying to get their night sky, dark sky certification. So twice a year, we go out and we monitor the brightness, darkness of the sky. And then the written word, APOD is NASA's astronomy picture of the day. I joined the Stafford project. William Stafford famously wrote a poem a day, and his student says, well, how do you do it? Well, I work a couple hours in the morning, and then if I have to edit it at night, I do. Well, that can't work. No, it always works. No, it can't work. What if it's no good? Well, then I lower my standards. So the astronomy picture of the day has been really fun as a daily prompt, and been working with writing coaches. And of course, I can pretend that all of this is actually in the service of science because I have a Springer brief, so 100-page book on Pluto that any month now I will be delivering. And I have to say, it's going to be a better book than it would have been if I had written it on time, because the attitude that you bring to things from the stuff on the right. So I've been doing this about 3 years, so I'm coming here as if I were a graduate student, full of tons of learning and enthusiasm and passion, and maybe I've got some stuff to teach you, but please be gentle. Okay, so I've mentioned nature journaling a couple times. What is it? This is from this beautiful zine. We can pass these around. I have more with me, but some assembly required. Words, pictures, numbers to deepen observation, asking questions, making connections, and what is it in the service of? Why do you do it? Well, first of all, it's a whole lot of fun. Oh my God, it is so much fun. And you join it wherever you are, right? If you say, I can't draw, then you go, oh, no, I'm just making a diagram. And I can tell you about 5 strategies to get the artwork editor to sit in the corner for a little bit. But it's also it's also building the kind of community you want to be part of. So this is why I'm standing out here instead of sitting behind the desk. And I'm going to be inviting you as I talk to think about, does this remind you of something that you already do, or that a friend of yours does, or that you're interested in doing? So I'm hoping that this is going to be an invitational talk. So just to give you an example, this is one of mine from last year, December of 24. We were in California, where it was magnificent and awesome, right? We would see hundreds of cranes flying in at once. If you go to Kearney, Nebraska, you'll see thousands of cranes at once. So I highly recommend going to Kearney, Nebraska in late March. But California, it was pretty fun, and we had scopes set up, and I saw, so before we go out, we get some lessons on how you draw cranes and about their anatomy and how they don't have that kink in the neck that herons have, because they're not primarily carnivores. Herons are like their necks are popped, so they can do this. Cranes don't have to do that. And then you go out there and they're not doing any of the poses that you practice drawing. And not only that, but I'm drawing the one in front, and then the one behind sticks up his neck, and it looks like a 2-headed crane. So that was a whole lot of fun. So this is not scientific illustration, right? This is not great art. This was maybe a 3-minute sketch, but it captures the moment and it lets you ask questions. But we're here at Coal Creek Canyon Skywatchers. So this is the first Nature Journal page that I did of the night sky. I have the original here with me if people want to see it. I woke up far too early. Rather than lie in bed without sleeping, I go outside and journal the night sky. So there are the 4 dark pigments of the apocalypse, right? So there's 4 watercolors where you can actually get some really dark down, and then gel pens on top. And I knew I was going to see Jupiter and Mars, and got to hear the Great Horn Gallop. So that was really fun. This is just another example, walking along my street on November 9th, and Saturn's near the moon. And on November 10th, you could see over the course of an hour, Saturn moving from one side of the moon to the other. And I was surprised. Now, being surprised, that is your body's gift to your mind, right? Because when you're surprised, it says, I didn't think that I had a really clear idea of how quickly the moon would pass Saturn, but I'm surprised, and it means that obviously I expected it to move slower and I was wrong. pay attention when you're surprised, because that's a chance to say, I have some incorrect mental model in my head. And the Nature Journal is a fun place where you can write down why you were surprised, and it leads you into interesting places, right? So in here, very, very quickly could just, okay, no, it makes sense that it moved that quickly. Here I was, had the great good fortune to be in Costa Rica. I didn't write down the date on the page here, but it was January of 25. And, seeing, just how low the Big Dipper and the North Star are, and that you could see the Southern Cross and Mars and Gemini. I was so excited when there were 3 people walking the beach, and I had to point it out to them. And one of them said, "Oh, what does it mean?" And 4 hours later, I had a good answer. But it was a really good answer, and I've stolen my own answer later. So here's a case study, Mars and Jupiter. So I brought my Sea Star. It's an alt-az camera. Does anybody here have a Sea Star? So it's a nifty little camera. It's about this big. It's alt-az. It is pretty small aperture, but it does shift and rotate and stack. So it's good for chatty people, because the longer you talk, the better your image is. So I was setting it up at one of the tent camps in the Serengeti. We were off Nature Journal Safari. It was kind of amazing. And a couple of them said, "Well, what's this bright triangle of stars in the morning?" Any 3 stars is a triangle. So I had a hot date with one of the cooks, and at 5:30 we go out, and the answer was Aldebaran and Jupiter and Mars was already in August, visible from the Serengeti in the early morning. Which got me to playing with retrograde motion, right? So found this nice star chart. I have the example there of where any night that I went out and I actually saw it, I would put a dot along the chart. Metallic colored Sharpies are wonderful. But also playing with a way of demonstrating the retrograde motion. And if you do it 1 inch to an AU for either Mars or Jupiter, so the normal motion is like unscrewing a jar of peanuts, which is, of course, the logical, natural thing to do. But then during retrograde motion, you twist the other way, like you're screwing the peanut jar back on. Why would you ever do that? Right? So it's kind of fun, because it's a way to viscerally feel the motion within your wrist. Not the easiest way to describe retrograde motion. The easier way is just to look at something and blink one eye and the other eye. But this was a fun thing to do. I wrote it up for the wind. So it's not every year that you can see the Jupiter's retrograde motion, but in 2024 to the season of 25, one of the horns of the bull and Aldebaran made a line, and Jupiter moved back and forth along the line. So Allen's Park Wind is our very local newspaper, sort of like this one here. It has a readership of about 600. So that was fun. And there's the editor actually asked me, "What's that bright thing that I see almost straight up in the middle of the night?" So I stole his words for the article. Mars is also moving around from Gemini through Cancer, and it was a chance to hunt the beehive. So was able to introduce people who had never seen the beehive through binoculars, including myself. It is a stunning binocular target. Who here has seen the beehive through binoculars? Isn't it great? Oh my goodness. Okay, so my very rough is on the left, and Teresa Ho's glorious example of her nature journaling is on the right. She lives in Yosemite, so she's got pretty good skies. So another case study, this is again Teresa Ho's. So I was encouraging people to spot Mercury because not everybody has seen Mercury. Galileo never saw Mercury. So you see Mercury, you're one up on Galileo. And this is not the purpose here is different from the purpose of when you're doing scientific observations, right? So she is catching the timeline on the right. Something's awake and making noise. When do you hear the birds? Merlin is an app that identifies bird songs. So she says, Merlin hears green-tailed towhee, Stellar's jay, Venus and Jupiter are still visible at 6:02, and then recording a conversation that she had with someone else. So she goes out to this nice spot that has a good view of the horizon. Somebody else is out there doing the same thing. So, and she's got tests here of you put down a resist and then see if the watercolor does not go over the star that you draw first, or use a Sharpie, or gouache, or different things. So it's all fair game, right? Leslie gives you permission to do absolutely anything that works. This is my case of looking for. This is over the course of several hours on the top, and then several days. And then heard the red-tailed hawk. What I like to do, so you try to catch the colors, and then I draw the objects themselves off the thing. That works for me. So Sweet Darkness. So David White. He's the kind of poet that has, usually when you see him, there's 100 drooling fanboys and girls. He's that kind of poet. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your wound tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you.
Mm.
So David White is also giving you permission to do that. So I took the name Sweet Darkness for the online class that I teach through Wild Wonder once a month. They tend to be pretty small. So you come on and we will talk about anything. If you have a question about something you saw, or we want to play with a technical question of gouache versus pencil resist, or and speaking of technical questions, I have a sack of ideas for how to journal night sky with me, which you know what, this is a fine time to pull it out. So I brought some black Post-its. So if people want to take some black Post-its, and then if you have your own white Sharpies, or you happen to enjoy stealing office supplies, So, you know, you might have some fun with that. Take as many Sharpies as you want. This thing here is what has turned into this, the Skylog with some prompts on the back. I have a stack of ones that are not yet assembled, and I'll pass a few around, and I expect 3 of them to leave here. But basically, who, where, when, what's going on, some prompts like what's the weather, what do you wonder, what's changing, what's familiar, some resources, and then this is right. So if you want to catch the full sky, you know, or you're like, well, what are the first things I see at twilight? So I'll pass these around, and 3 of them can stay, and I have a whole bunch more unassembled. So this is again Teresa Ho's beautiful work, notes from one of our Sweet Darkness nights. And this is what I'm passing around. So Belfast, I had to be in Belfast for a Vera Rubin observatory meeting, and it was at the same time as the Northern Ireland Science Festival. So I said, well, I can come a couple days early for the astronomy and physics day. And Meg Schwam, who heads up solar system for Vera Rubin, she emailed the organizer, and she knows my Pluto work, right? So she gave the Leslie Young small bodies outer solar system, and I could hear the skepticism in his voice. Well, I suppose we could do some pop-up talks. And I said, did you say pop-up talks? Because we gave out, we talked to 50 families and gave out 50 of those things. So that was a good day. Astronomy and art, and thank you for your permission. Astronomy can be inspiring. So you've seen sort of the field sketch level of art, but of course, there's nothing to say you can't use astronomy to go deeper, to be more careful, to be more deliberate. So thank you for your permission to use these. If you want to talk about these at all, feel free.
Well, this is Eris, which we know very little about, and so it's a safe thing to paint. Although Leslie did give me some tips on atmosphere, sky. I talked to some other researchers about what activity might be there. But in general, astronomical art is just an extension of landscape art, which Leslie is also doing in her sketchbooks or sketchbooks. So it's a kind of continuum.
It is, but there's an astronaut there, right?
What's the graph there is?
It's Eris is very dense, right? So it's a tiny bit smaller than Pluto and maybe 30% more massive. So I don't remember offhand.
So like a meter, a couple meters per second squared.
Yeah.
Enough to keep you on it.
Yep. So there's an astronaut here, which means that probably it's near perihelion. So of course there's an atmosphere. So you got it.
No pubs yet, but you know that'll come.
Have you seen the there's a beautiful card, Pluto. Great food, lousy atmosphere. So I wasn't making people in Allen's Park go out in the cold over the winter. So why do we do this, right? Why do we do this? And this is one reason why. Stopping under our night sky, tingling from the right shoulder socket across the clavicles to the left, with the gentle pull on the side of the mouth and a very deep breath. But that's just me. How does your body feel here in the mountains? No, really, how do you feel? Might you feel a lightness or a stillness? Might you feel it in your fingers or in your eyes? This is an echo on the surprise lesson, right? Our bodies give us a gift. If you unwrap it, scratch it, smell it, feel its shape, put it in your pocket, and pull it out now and again, maybe you can recognize when Taurus's red eye is gazing at you, or when you are on your way to the dump, that your body is trying to dope slap your stubborn mind into paying attention. I mean, we live here. Just on our drive to the dump, we might feel that same feeling that we feel when we look at the night sky. And it's a reminder, maybe stop, maybe take a couple breaths. Maybe what you're feeling is awe, right? So why do we notice the night sky? Maybe the answer is practice recognizing awe. So, which is a fine reason by itself. And I mentioned the Stafford project. Here's another reason, another benefit for noticing the night sky. Curiosity makes us bold, unsqueamish before the creepy crawlies, the sponges, the slugs, the snakes, and the crabs. So unlike us in looks and livelihood, curiosity draws us into the spider web to admire its construction. Oh, this is the Crab Nebula, by the way, just in case not everybody in the room recognizes. Curiosity makes us bold, undaunted before the vast night sky, feeling tiny, then asking exactly how tiny. Take the Crab Nebula, its filaments wiggling outwards, and we wonder, we measure how far, how fast. This is from Astronomy Picture of the Day, and they credit, of course, the source. And I went to their page, and you can actually measure how quickly the Crab Nebula is expanding, and I think it's like the size of a solar system every 4 months or something like that, right? So, you can feel tiny, but you don't have to feel undaunted by feeling tiny. And then so this is a reason to look at the night sky, think about the night sky that you might not have considered. So there's this thing that we do with our heads, where we assume that we are obviously complex and nuanced because we can see our own heads, and of course nobody else is, right? If I get into that spot in the next lane, it's because I am adroit and aware, and besides, I'm a very important person with places I need to go. And then the person who cuts me off 5 minutes later, they are fundamentally a jerk. Deep down in their soul, so the fundamental attribution error is that you are acting with nuance and subtlety to the circumstances, and everybody else is acting because that's exactly how they are. Well, it turns out not only can you measure how susceptible you are to the fundamental attribution error in the lab, but there's ways to mitigate it, and they're actually not so hard. So there's a great paper by Hooper et al. I can give the citation to anybody who wants it, but so Hooper and friends tell us to reduce fundamental attribution errors, change your perspective, not brutally forcing yourself to think ick like them, but naturalistic, empirical, pragmatic questions like, and then this is from their paper, questions like, if I have a red brick and you have a green brick, no, I have a red brick and you have a green brick. If I was you and you were me, what would you have? Or maybe Mediasat 9 looked at me at solstice. If I were Mediasat 9, then what would I see? So this business of looking at Jupiter and then going, okay, what's the bird's eye view? If I can see Jupiter near twilight, then where is the sun and the Earth and Jupiter out? Who knows? That might make you a kinder person. It seems like a fine risk to take, right? What's the harm? Okay, so Stafford Project, a poem every day. I haven't done mine today yet.
Hey, Howell, if you can hear us, we cannot hear you anymore.
Sound from Leslie is gone.
Yep, I know. Trying to get it back.
here tomorrow?
We got sound.
Yeah, that here, yeah, reappear tomorrow.
And then let's finish it up with some noun that sounds good. You know,
It's here tomorrow.
it's always good to end with hope. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to write down, if you go to tiny URL,
Sinking into darkness. Sinking into darkness.
reflections. If you go there later tonight, you will see our poem posted for everyone to see. So thank you, that was fun. I think I just have one more slide.
You're not sharing the slides right now, because I
Oh.
needed to share the
Oh, yeah,
camera
yeah.
view for all that.
Yep.
Presumably, people on Zoom can now listen, because when I did, by the way, when I did the mic swap on the computers, the mic muted itself. So the Zoomers have not been hearing anything.
It's an existential attack.
It's been very quiet and sad. You're right. You can groan.
That's why we want the Zoomers to come in person. It's summertime now.
Okay.
That's right. If you came in person, you would have caught it all.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get your last slide up here again.
Okay, very good. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to show you some of the goodies I brought. If you want to try out any on the black paper and say, oh yeah, I got to get me one of those. So Prismacolor white pencil, 2 Prismacolor white pencils. The Sharpie Creative Markers, those are nice because they lay down color with very little pressure. So that's a nice thing if you've already assembled the pop-up. Sharpies and a gel pen. I like the Signo. So you can come and play with the black paper. Take some black paper with you.
All right, we're good.
Okay. All right, so let's just go to the last one, I think. Right, so actually, let's go to the next one. Okay, so so you do this because it fills your own well, and because you get to spread the information and the pleasure to other people. So ways you can do it, if you're trying to learn the night sky, Stellarium on the phone is a great resource. Sky and Telescope, Earth and Sky is a great newsletter telling you what's coming up. I've been enjoying using astronomy as a poetry prompt, or I like using it as painting prompts or nature writing. What catches your fancy? Words, pictures, numbers, they're all allowed because Leslie gives you permission to do absolutely anything that works. And here's some examples of things that I've been doing for others. Random fabulosity just means sometimes I send friends out very long emails. And I put in the subject line random fabulosity, so it's a warning to them that they can read it or not. Yeah, so so I know some of the things that people here are doing, right? Your articles, your newspaper articles, your professional writing, your paintings. I'd love to hear what Has this brought up any interesting ideas for anybody else that you feel like talking about? Please. You don't want to say. Okay, so catch me after. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, one thing that happened to me, I was editing a magazine, and I went and got into the International Astronomical, what is that, IAAA?
International Association of Astronomical Artists.
Yeah, and I said, I have no money, but I want your artwork. And I got so much artwork. and I sat there and looked at the artwork, and it inspired me to write an article. It inspired me to have somebody else write an article where I just used that photo. And one of the most bizarre ones I ever got was Mars, a painting of Mars with two handprints on it. It had the handprints atop the photo of Mars. And I'm going, what kind of article is this going to be? And I said, it's got to be terraforming of Mars. And I got somebody to write a whole article based on that photo. And I ran photos from those guys for, I should be sued.
Oh, you will be.
I probably will be at some point. But, you know, that was inspirational. The art drove the story. The art drove the story.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It is, there's a symbiosis, you know, a relationship between different types of art.
Yes.
You know, the words in your sketchbook as well as the visuals.
Right.
And those can inspire poetry, writing, and dance, and literature. All this stuff is very rich when it.
Right.
Well, the other one was weird that I dealt with by somebody now very famous. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was just starting out, and he had a photo or artwork of dolphins floating in space.
Rick Sternbach.
I think, yeah, okay. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm going, what kind of article could this be? And it turned out that dolphins and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, how do you communicate with other species? Boom! Perfect artwork.
Nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There's a photo of dolphins that I use often in my talks. It was taken by Caitlin Griffith when she was snorkeling off of Captain Cook Beach in Hawaii. And the dolphins are not very deep below the surface, and the stripes of light folding over their bodies, right? So the waves are making stripes of light that then fold over their bodies. And so when I talk about how when you watch a star pass behind an atmosphere and the refraction of the atmosphere, just like the yolk flattening out, you get these spikes as the star gets refocused or not. So I use the dolphin to introduce the idea of refraction and spikes. So that's fun. And on dance, so there's Dr. Denton in our office was the astronomer in residence at the Grand Canyon. What an inspiration, just to even know that there is such a thing. And her project was she developed a dance, and the rangers there set her up in a place where she could be on the rim but not in danger of falling off. Right? So beautiful. So developing an astronomy dance for the Grand Canyon. Yes.
So I lead the stargazing over at Golden Gate State Park every summer.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and so the last time I did it was, I think it was last September. And I was just doing my, going through and talking about the constellations, because I had sort of a standard thing that I follow. And there were two little kids there that were drawing their own constellations. So I don't know if you've ever been over there. There's an amphitheater and there's a lot of trees around it, so you only get this little view of
Right.
the sky right here. But it was good and dark because it was getting into September. And they were drawing their own constellations, so after we were all done, I had them share them.
Fantastic.
Even though I'm pointing out the ones that we can see that are overhead, and then they're drawing their own. I thought that was kind of cool.
Very, very cool. Very cool. On the drawing your own constellations, I've been thinking, could you do something? So, people say I can't draw, but very few people have learned to say I can't diagram. So if you say let's do a diagram, they're a little more open to it. I've been trying to think: is there something you could do with plexiglass and then a stand here, so that you're not drawing, you're marking where you see the stars, and then inviting people to draw the constellations as they remember being shown it when they were 10 in summer camp, or draw the constellations from their culture, or draw whatever they feel like drawing. Or, for me, if I were to draw Leo, I would say, well, lions have small hips, right? I can very much see that that's the back half of the lion, and that's the front half of the lion. And in between, it may as well be a slinky toy, right? So when I look at Leo, I picture a slinky toy.
Leslie, we should talk. I have something for you.
You have a lion? You have a lion slinky toy?
No, I have a way to draw your own constellations, and I'll share it with you sometime.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Terrific.
This is John, by the way. Oops. Shit.
Yep.
And the stars go around in a circle. But he's also done some, or in the past done some, where he'd take a picture, maybe it was a tree and some stars or something, or an astronaut, and then he'd do this triangular kind of thing. You could barely tell what it was, but it was very artistic.
Cool.
And I was hoping he'd share some of those, but I don't think so. But yeah, I think just keeping an open mind, and now it's getting, not tonight, but it's getting a little warmer, and just getting out there to look at those stars, And even if you live down below, come on up, you're welcome. And we're always trying to find a clear night, which you can't predict up here. So a lot of times we're cleaning up, we go outside, and finally it's clear like at 10 p.m. after all of you have left. But we're hoping to get some summer night skies here, and also do some star parties at, we have the K-8 school soccer field, and we've done 2 of those over our 12 years here, and want to do some more this spring, and and maybe this summer too. We're working with the school and that.
Leslie,
Yes.
on your lantern, is the idea of using nouns and then adjectives and then feelings and then noun again, so it doesn't, you're not stuck to 3 words or 5 words?
So if it gets larger and then smaller again, then
That
it's
was
like
the
one.
one.
Okay. That's a formula that often gives a satisfying result. And if you have a formula, you don't feel stuck. Sometimes a little bit of structure helps the creativity, but you don't have to follow it. So, for example, one of the leaders in the Wild Wonder Foundation, John Yerlaws, Jack Laws, when he describes haiku in the 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, he says, or you can write maiku, which are almost haiku, but not quite. So,
I'll show you one after. I don't need to.
okay. Yay.
All right. So I think we're ready now for Leonard to do his thing. Come on up, Leonard.
Well, thank you, because you don't know what you're gonna hear. Okay, thank you, Leslie, that was great. Okay, well, okay, I kind of write a lot on space, and that's why they call me somewhat of a space journalist. Now, this is an easy talk, because that's been one big month of activity. Of all things, starting on April Fool's Day, April 1. Okay, here's the clicker. There we go. Let me start off with this. You know, we had a spectacular activity happen in the space community. It was the first time we've been back near the moon with humans since 1972. We sent these folks, 4 people around the moon and back. They went on the longest journey or most distant journey by humans in space and then back to Earth. Pretty cool. I mean, I keep saying the same thing. I felt like I was 13 years old. You know, I went through the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, and I was so pleased with how this mission came off. There's some glitches here and there. There's a lot of things that are going to come out later, but overall, we brought 4 people back from an extraordinary voyage of exploration. This is the crew. We had 3 NASA astronauts and a Canadian astronaut on board. It is almost a forerunner of what's coming, because there's going to be a lot of different types of crew going in the next few years. It's going to, the pace of this, and I'll get to this in a minute, is going to increase if we listen to NASA and if the budget allows. But anyway, it was an amazing mission, looping around the moon, coming screaming back in to the Earth's atmosphere at 25,000 miles an hour on a heat shield that was somewhat problematic, because the first flight of an unmanned Orion capsule had some problems with the reentry shield, but it held up apparently, and the pictures were just incredible. I think Leslie mentioned this. I think they took us to the moon like no other mission has. Not because of old age, but I think a new technology, new telecommunications, but some of the views were just, out the window, just unbelievable. And we were all taken along on this ride. a 10-day voyage around the moon and back. Close in on the far side, looping around. They apparently got some photos that I have not seen yet, but people keep talking about them. Meteorite strikes, flashes on the darkened part of the moon that we are still to see, as far as I know. Have we ever seen those pictures yet? No.
They didn't give any pictures of the flashes.
They say they've got some kind of strikes on the moon.
They saw
Flashes.
them. They saw them.
They saw them.
I don't know
Oh,
if
they
you
saw them. They didn't
So,
take
yeah,
pictures.
this is-
Oh, okay.
This is an important thing to study because
Yeah.
it helps constrain the impact rate on the moon.
Yeah.
It can also be used as seismic sources when we have
Yeah.
seismometers on the moon. But what they saw, their ability to locate them, the number they saw, is
Okay.
not significant.
Okay. Well, there's a good explanation for it, because I didn't understand what happened. But anyway, they also got braced for a solar eclipse between the moon and the earth. And so there's that picture. Great shot. And splashdown. And in my view, given the today's technology, this reminded me of the old days. I mean, they land in the ocean, they draw them out of a helicopter, very cumbersome kind of recovery of the people. And frankly, I think put the astronauts at risk, but there's so many steps that they had to take. It took forever to get them out of there. But anyway, maybe that'll change in the future as we get more routine flights to the moon and back.
Why do you say that, Leonard?
Because I didn't like it.
I know, but there's no way with this spacecraft to change it.
No,
Yes,
there is a way to.
It's not like Soyuz that it gets
No,
braking rockets to
Look, the capsule itself was recovered by the ship. They brought the capsule into the ship. If the capsule landed near the ship, they could have brought the people and the capsule and offloaded the water in the recovery
Take a long
ship
time under
and get them out of there.
pretty complicated.
This thing is archaic, in my view. And I didn't write about it, but I thought of all the things, you put these people through 10 days of space flight, risking their lives, and then they put them in a treacherous situation of getting them out of the capsule, airlifting them out of there with multiple helicopters going back and forth. Seems like we can do much better.
And part of it was we were nervous.
Yeah, we were nervous.
We were watching it live.
Yeah, I was like,
Nervous.
please,
Don't
dear God.
drop
Anyway, they made it, they're back, recovery after recovery. This is, the one big thing, even after 10 days of exposure in space around the moon, they pretty much walked out on their own. They were, on the ship fairly, routine and fast as the Navy would have it. There's one of the astronauts, it's a huggable capsule. They survived the whole flight. And as we move forward, Artemis 3 right now is being prepared for launch next year. And this is going to be an interesting dynamic of the whole back to the moon with humans program. The new NASA template is let Artemis 3 be an Earth orbiting mission where we're going to put up some astronauts in the capsule, and supposedly they're going to practice rendezvous with a potential lunar lander. And those lunar landers, the last time I looked, you need a lander to land on the moon. We don't have a lander. There is no lander. It's not been certified. And we got Jeff Bezos at Amazon with Blue Origin. They have a concept that they're working on, and they're making progress. We got Elon Musk. He's got the Starship, and it's going to, be one of the contenders. So one of those is the real lander that we're supposedly going to use. My feeling is this is really going to change in the next year and a half or so, whatever it's going to take. I don't know what this mission is going to do, but it's only going into Earth orbit with astronauts rendezvous with a potential lander and practice docking and rendezvous. So that's okay. It reminds me a lot of the Apollo, step by step. You gain confidence in your hardware and your astronauts and the technology. So that's okay. But, you know, in the meantime, the new NASA administrator, who is, you know, about 5 or 6 months into the job, has really outlined a whole different set of milestones in the Artemis program. And it's a multi-phase program. He's gone back to bare woods. He keeps saying the history of Apollo tells us something we're going to have to mimic, and he's doing that. So we're going to see how we're ever going to get this Artemis program into a what they call a standardized or cadence, you know, the cadence of launch. Instead of waiting years and years between launches, we're going to have a pretty fast-paced program. Again, if the budgets are there and the technology works and checkout of hardware and astronauts works, we'll have a pretty fast-paced program leading to, you know, what NASA is now striving for, which is a lunar base. You know, and kind of to me, it's Antarctica on the moon. It's a base that people can visit and stay in for long duration compared to a few days on the moon and come back to Earth, as Apollo did. So anyway, that's evolving, and it's great, very interesting. Again, you need a lander to land on the moon. That I remember from Apollo. You know, you have to have a lander. We don't have a lander. Okay, SpaceX on the left, we have Blue Origin and their capability. Blue Origin's about ready to launch this year, a test lander, lunar lander, and we'll see how well that goes. SpaceX with Elon Musk, he's trying to get his Starship off the ground another time to do another test. It's going to be more aggressive, and we'll see how well he does with Starship. Not to the moon, but in low Earth orbit, and but he's going to try out a lot of different kind of capability to prove to NASA that he's ready to haul the freight of humans to the moon. But it's a TBD in both cases. White House, in the meanwhile, Donald Trump is really, you know, an inheritor of he's the guy that really is pushing for American dominance in space. This is a White House picture release showing, you know, their kind of slogan: America will never give up the moon again. And why is that? Because we have what is, in my mind, a replay of the Soviet Union, then Russia, but in the U.S. back in the 60s, the space race. We have a competitor that is gung-ho, literally, on getting to the moon before the United States. That's China. And the NASA administrator shown here is playing that card. We'll see. You know, he's ramped up NASA's timetable for human landings and on the moon, and we'll have to see what happens. But it's going to be close. In fact, the other day when NASA Administrator Isaacman was on the House hearing, I think it was 2 days ago, he goes, it's a matter of, you know, not years but months. I mean, we're talking a real space race, and it's going to be heightened at the end of this year by China's robotic lander that's going to the South Pole of the moon, and it'll be followed by another lander in a year and a half or so, Chang'e 8. But these two are preliminary landing on the moon to help China create a lunar base on the moon. So, you know, it's definitely a spirited competition between the two countries. This is where China will land near Shackleton Crater. Purportedly kind of a reservoir of lunar ice, which may be the elixir of future enduring the lunar surface, because you have water that you can make into rocket fuel, drinkable water, use it for even shelter from radiation. So, everybody's on the prowl for lunar ice in these craters that don't see the sun. This is a kind of a schematic picture of what China is trying to build and is testing rigorously now. And in fact, probably in a week or so, we're going to see another test of their moon booster, and it's coming, and we'll see how well they do. They could fail, who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, the other thing that's happening, and I'm skimming through a million things here, the Roman Space Telescope is sitting there ready, apparently, to get off the ground, and it's going to be more powerful than Hubble. Carolyn, you want to say anything about Roman?
No.
No, okay.
I read the same thing you did today. They look like they're going to try and launch this fall.
Yeah, September maybe, if they can get everything's going fairly well on this. It's interesting. This is what not too many reporters remember. This thing actually, the guts of it was a National Reconnaissance Office spy satellite, and the camera system is sort of a makeover of that hardware that was given to NASA, and they turned it into the Roman telescope. But it's if everything goes right, let's see. Let me read what I wrote. Almost 8 feet wide, the mirror, similar to Hubble. However, Roman has the ability to take images that capture a patch of the sky at least 100 times larger than Hubble can. So Roman is calibrated to capture images of the universe in visible and near infrared light. After launch, Roman telescope will head to a stable point, the L2 point, about 1 million miles from Earth. So launch maybe early September. They're on track. It actually has come in supposedly under budget, and they are raring to go to get that thing off the planet and in space and locked in at Lagrange point. So it's a big new capability that's coming. I just wanted to highlight something that nobody really reported on, but it was a long time ago. We had the first human go into space. It was a Soviet Yuri Gagarin, and I think it's worth celebrating how far we've come compared to where we started with human spaceflight, and that was 1961 with Yuri Gagarin. Vostok spacecraft took this guy up there and looped around the Earth one time, and then, or almost one time, and then came back to Earth, and it proved that humans could survive. Forget the dogs, forget the monkeys, forget the mice. A human could survive spaceflight, and he did it, and that was a unique anniversary. The last thing I'll talk about, there was something happened, again, in the Mars, the siren call from Mars of, what is going on here continues. And of all things, Curiosity, which, it's been there for years and years and years and years. It's climbing up, Mount Sharp in the Gale Crater complex. And it's finding all kinds of odd things, and the pictures that are coming back from up there, from Curiosity, this is a NASA rover, it's pretty intriguing. And this particular finding came out a couple days ago. They reported a rock that NASA Curiosity Mars rover drilled into and analyzed in 2020 includes the most diverse collection of organic molecules ever found on the red planet. Of the 21 carbon-containing molecules identified in the sample, 7 of them were detected for the first time on Mars. But, and there's always a but in this stuff, but scientists have no way of knowing whether these organic molecules were created by biologic or geologic processes. Either path is possible, but on the other hand, the discovery renews confirmation that ancient Mars had the right chemistry to support life. So, you know, again, I'm a big believer that, you know, Mars life is there. It's just the detective story on trying to identify this and lock it down where all the scientists agree, it's difficult. And but this is a good friend of mine, Amy Williams at University of Florida, made this report available last week, and it's pretty exciting stuff. People are very intrigued by what the results say. So we'll see. It'll be another, you know, it'll be another step in the right direction in my mind about, yeah, Mars has supported life and most likely has life today somewhere, maybe underneath the surface. Anyway, I think that's it, and I want to reiterate that we have open Mikey night. next speaker, and of all things, he's written a book. It's just out, Beyond Artemis, brand new book, and I'm sure you're going to be selling these books, aren't you?
I can try to get a few.
Okay, a few. But on the other hand, his talk is not about this book. It'll be on Titan. And these are pictures from some of his artwork about Titan and human exploration.
Explain what Titan is.
Titan, Saturn. You tell us about Titan in 10 words or less.
Probably the most science fiction-y moon out there. It's very cool. Well, more atmosphere than an Italian restaurant. And it's got, you know, seas of methane and rocks that are actually water ice. And what could be more fun? So we'll chat about not only what we know today, but what has come before. We can trace through literature and art how we have viewed Titan through the ages.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could be a future human exploration target. I mean, we're locked in on the moon, we're locked in on Mars. There are other venues waiting. So Mikey's going to tell us about that, and it'll be pretty intriguing. So thank you.
Did any Zoomers have any questions for Leonard?
God, I hope not.
All right, well, I think that's a wrap.
We got to do pictures.
So we're going to do the usual picture at the end, and then we'll put away all the chairs.
Okay.
So that's a wrap.
We have 1 or 2 astrophotos, or we have 4. If you want to see them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hit those.
Didn't know about that.
Sorry. Are you ready?
Well, I got to put you up on the screen here. Oh, come on.
My first question is Mark Kuchernreiter in the audience?
Yep.
All right. Your pick is coming up.
Yeah.
If you would like.
Yeah, I took that a few nights ago. And exactly when I clicked on the shutter button, the jet was right in front. Right in front. And the camera has a 2-second delay. So, at any rate, it was almost a perfect picture with a jet.
But you got a perfect picture of the jet wash.
Well, true.
Barb asked me to show some of the stuff. You may have seen this image before. Thanks, Mark, for sharing yours. And if you, anybody else in the audience, if you've got astrophotos you would like to share with us, we would love to see them. And you know, we've seen some great ones, and we've seen some. They're all great to us. So feel free to send them my way before the meeting, and we'll get them up here. About 2 weeks ago, a show started in Albuquerque called Eyes in the Dark, and this year the photographer gallery that's hosting it, they wanted um, New Mexico images of the night sky. This show has what's called landscape astrophotography like this, but also deep space astrophotography like what David Elmore does and what I've showed a little bit of. And the show is pretty cool. Two of my pieces got accepted. This is one of them. These petroglyphs are just outside Santa Fe. It's called the La Cienguilla petroglyph site. Not protected at all. And thankfully they've not been defaced much. It's a maybe I don't know, half a mile walk from the parking lot to these petroglyphs. And a friend of mine and I went out last year and got this shot. This was one of the images that was accepted, and also this star trails image. This is a old rundown. Well, I say rundown. It's a ruin of a church that was built in the 1640s, which is pretty darn cool. It sits on the side of the road near Abiquiu, which, if you're familiar with George O'Keeffe, she had a place near what's called Ghost Ranch, which is near Abiquiu. And so actually, this image sold today. So I'm very pleased that this is out there in somebody's living room or wherever. And then I don't think I've shared this one. This is a shot that I took a few weeks ago of the Great Nebula in Orion and the Horsehead Nebula, which is a nebula we can't see with even large telescopes, to my understanding. But photography brought this out. And so this is a stacked image about 3 hours through a 30 millimeter little telescope that I've got attached to the camera. And lots of processing, obviously, but the results are pretty cool. So these are sorts of things that get you going at night, keep you up late. And if you want to ever join me doing this, we can arrange something. Meet halfway. The sand dunes are about halfway, so would love to get out into the night sky with everybody. So thanks.
All right, is that it, John?
That's it.
All right. Thank you, everybody who spoke.
Yeah, thanks to all of you who came in. You did sign the list, right? Or you're on the list already?